Amigos, amigas, how are we doing? My name is Manuel Reynaldo de Avila. I'm your Julio Tequila ambassador. You guys are here drinking tequila with me, which makes you guys friends and family. My friends and family call me Manny, so please call me Manny. When compared to the rest of the spirit world, tequila has been around for a blink of an eye. And yes, I truly mean a blink of an eye. Tequila as you guys know it. And the reason why I say this is because within that short period of time, it's incredible, it's outstanding for me to see how much the category has innovated, how much it has evolved. You see, tequila is the spirit of Mexico, both literally and figuratively, right? It is born out of passion and it is born out of celebration. Those are two things I want you guys to truly understand. That is very key to our culture. Tequila is born out of passion and it's born out of celebration. And I say this because it wasn't too long ago that I remember the way we used to celebrate by drinking tequila is by drinking out of a goofy little glass that we call a shot glass. But most importantly, this is the most relevant part, is that the way we used to really keep it down is by quickly chasing it with some lime or some salt. But we are now blessed with much more luxurious pours, much more premium pours. But I think we first need to kind of understand some base knowledge about the agave and the history, right? So the history of agave goes back millennia. I'm talking about pre-Aztec, pre-Mayans, pre-all of that. And there's a bunch of different legends, but it all kind of gets distilled down to like one cohesive little story. And that story kind of goes a little something like this. Back in the day, there was an earth-shattering storm. I'm talking thunder, lightning, rain, fires everywhere. People thought the world was going to end.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Right? Naturally, if you got all this craziness going around, what do? You run, you seek shelter, you hide in your own little shelter. So this is what the people did. This is what the natives at the time did. And they let the storm kind of, do its thing. Finally, after a long period of time, at least what felt like forever, the storm finally subsided, and in its place, what the people found was this beautiful, lingering aroma. Now, the records aren't exactly there as to what this aroma exactly was, but what everybody kind of talks about is that this aroma was akin to spices. I'm not talking about jalapeno or pepper spice. I'm talking like kitchen spices. Think nice holiday spices. And with a nice lingering hint of honey. So, what the people did is that, hey, the earth is still here. Let's figure out where this smell is coming from. So they followed their nose, right?
If you dine in alcohol, always follow your nose.
We Mexican people are an adventurous bunch, so we're trying to figure out, we're not dead yet. Let's see if we're going to die in a couple minutes. So they followed their nose, and what they found was a massive maguey. So we in Mexico call the agave a maguey, okay? So whenever you guys hear me say maguey, that's what I'm talking about. And what they found was a massive maguey, a massive agave. It says that it's honestly, legends say that it was about this big, like the big old archway. These things could grow to be super huge and massive. And what they found was presumably that it was split down the middle by a lightning bolt. And when this happened, it charred the edges and it charred the insides of this agave. And this is where the smell was coming from. And out of it was oozing a white, milky substance. So I tell this story because within the agaves, within the maguey, the agaves have this beautiful sap, all right? Very thick and viscous like honey. And when you caramelize it, the aroma is very similar, right? And when this sap sat and oozing, because it was, through the storms, it kind of just sat there and was caramelized, there's these sugars in there, and they started fermenting, all right? So these natives, what they did is they see something on the ground, it smells delicious, they don't know what it is. Naturally, you do what you do, you taste it, right? You taste it. You don't know what it is, you taste it. So they tasted it, and thank goodness they didn't die. We're all, my people and I are here, so we lived. But what they found was that they started to feel a little bit vibey, a little euphoric, right? So what they discovered was alcohol. My amigos, this was the predecessor to pulque, all right? And for those of you guys that don't know what pulque is essentially a wine that comes from the agave plant, a mezcal wine. I want to talk about the term mezcal, and my friend Perla, I'm sure, is going to talk a lot about mezcal as well, but I get a lot of questions. Manny, what's the difference between tequila and mezcal? Honestly, guys, I'm going to simplify and I'm going to let Perla do all the awesome, beautiful, like nerdy stuff with mezcal. But I want you guys to think of mezcal as an umbrella term, okay? The same way wine is an umbrella term, right? You got reds, whites, sparkling, all underneath it. The same way whiskey is an umbrella term. There's a bunch of different whiskey, right? All bourbon is whiskey, not all whiskey is bourbon. All champagne is wine, not all wine is champagne. All tequila is mezcal, not all mezcal is tequila. All right? So mezcal is the term given to all distillates that come from the agave plant. There's a bunch of different type of varieties of agaves, right? Cuiche, Madre Cuiche, Tobalá, Coyote, Espadín. It goes on and on and on. There's also Blue Weber. All right? Today we're going to be focusing on Blue Weber, at least with me, because that is what tequila is made from. So that's getting back to that story. You know, now this is the predecessor to pulque, right? Then fast forward, the Spanish come, they start colonizing, and with it they kind of bring the expansion of distillation, right? And then from that, fast forward to the early 1700s. We now have tequila being produced out in Mexico. But Manny, you said tequila's been around from the blink of an eye. The 1700s is quite a long time ago. Yes. So there was always a cartoon that had a man drunk with a sombrero, and then there's a bottle with 3 X's.
What's in this? I have no idea.
So this is back to those times, right? Tequila was very, very rustic, all right? So tequila, as you guys know it, didn't come to be up until around the late 1970s, early 1980s. The reason for this is that is when the Norma Mexicana was established. Now, the Norma Mexicana is the law that dictates everything about tequila. It tells you how you can make it, where it needs to be, where it can be produced, where the agave can come from, so on and so forth, right? And what this Norma established is, first of all, it made tequila, the term, like a protected area of origin of appellation. That's really what I'm trying to get to. Sorry, having tequila earlier, a little mini stroke. But really what it said was, in order for your spirit to be made or be called tequila, it could only come from 181 different municipalities within Mexico. That further gets distilled into 5 different states. Can anybody tell me one? Jalisco, yes. Jalisco, Nayarit, Michoacán, Tamaulipas, and Guanajuato. There we go. These are the 5 different states. I don't know who here is Mexican or who here has Mexican homies. Like I said, we're a rambunctious bunch. At least my family likes to push the boundaries and bend the rules. So if you know, you got this weird Norma Mexicana trying to tell me what to do, por favor. Yo hago lo que me da la gana. I do what I want, right? So who's going to come here and tell me how I need to make my tequila? So really, you know, until you had a policing body, people were it was still the Wild West. Now, this policing body that went around and made sure that all the tequila families and all the tequila producers were on the up and up following the Norma Mexicana wasn't established until the 1990s. Yeah, the 1990s. So when I say tequila has been around for a blink of an eye, I truly, truly mean it. So I quickly wanted to share that with you guys. Furthermore, the Norma Mexicana also goes on to establish tequila as a category, right? We all know blanco, reposado, so on and so forth. If we don't know more, I'm about to go through it. But, again, think of tequila, or mezcal, right? Umbrella term, further broken down. Tequila. There's actually 2 types of tequila. There's tequila 100% or tequila 100% Blue Weber agave. And then there's tequila crickets, right? No beautiful little caveat. It's just tequila. Yeah, mixto is a little term that we kind of give it. So we have some friends referring to the rest as mixto. So really, it's still called tequila. And the tequila without that beautiful caveat of 100% Blue Weber agave means that all the sugars that get fermented and ultimately distilled, only 51% of those have to come from the Blue Weber agave plant. The rest of them, you know, that's where the fun additive buzz term kind of comes to play, right? So I'm not here to kind of trash on mixtos, although Don Julio makes no mixtos. I think it's important, and I think it's, you know, in order to be fair, especially when talking about agaves, it's important to talk a little bit about mixtos. There was a time where mixtos were necessary, like period, hands down necessary. Tequila, the agave population, tequila was booming, the agave population was being decimated. right? And all the major families kind of got together along with the CRT, the policing body that I mentioned earlier, and they agreed that, hey, we should probably kind of start mixing or cutting the agave in order to continue the agave species, because if we continue to harvest this agave, there's going to be no more blue Weber to go around. So there was a time where it was actually necessary. Nowadays, we have enough blue Weber agave going around where I don't think it's you know, my opinion is that you probably don't need to have mixtos around anymore, but they're still around. All right? So mixtos also is a term referred to these type of tequilas. And tequila 100% blue Weber agave, well, 100% of the sugars that get fermented and distilled come from the blue Weber agave plant. Furthermore, we have 5 different categories underneath that. There's blanco, plata, you know, silver, all the same stuff. This tequila is basically the purest form of tequila. It is unaltered by wood. It is untainted, as some people would say. It is the purest form of tequila. This is tequila that comes straight from the still. It gets watered down and sat in maybe a vessel before it hit the bottle, right? This tends to be a lot more earthy, a little bit more vegetal, lingering hints of beautiful agave, but overall a lot of vegetal, beautiful notes to it, right? Once you age this tequila, or should I say rest this tequila, in American oak or encino casks. Encino is a wood native to Texas and parts of Mexico. You now have, or once you rest it for 2 months, you now have a tequila that is a reposado, all right? Now, one thing that most people don't realize is that reposado, or all these categories, as a matter of fact, don't have a cap. They don't have a limit. So, if I wanted to, I could age my reposado for 5 years and call it a reposado, but why would I, right? These agaves, blue Weber takes between a minimum of 5 years to mature in earth. You know, if I do that and then I go and do all this other stuff aging it, I want you guys to know what I did to my tequila, right? So once I age my tequila a full 12 months, I've now hit a year. This is the category of añejo, okay? And then once I further age that for 3 years, I've now hit the ultra age category, the category of extra añejo. All of these, again, in encino or American oak casks. I skipped a category. A few of you guys may have noticed, if I'm not blocking it. This is a category of joven. This is a category that is synonymous with gold, although I think that there should be a differentiating factor, but it is synonymous with gold. Who here has had a gold tequila? For those of you guys that went to college, you've had a gold tequila. So gold and joven, all right? The norma only states that this is a tequila that starts as a blanco, and then you imbue flavor components to make it seem or taste much more older, right? So instantly, after telling you guys these categories, you might be thinking mixtos or tequila, right? Without that blue 100%. Yes, some of them, most of them, right? But that, remember, if you look back at the rule, with the norma mexicana, all it says is a blanco that has flavor components imbued in it to make it seem older, right? Now there's the category of joven, and I have a very, very sexy joven for you guys to taste later on. Can be done in a different way, right? There's one way, add all the additives to it, and then there's another way, which I believe to be the right way, which is, well, if all you could do is add something to it to make it seem more old, well, all you could really add to it is older tequila, right? So that's another way. That's the way to keep it with integrity with 100% blue Weber agave.